Oh, hi everyone. I'm just waiting for Anna from Designer to join. Oh, hi Anna. Just gonna add her here. All right, we're just waiting for. Oh,
Hi,
hi.
coming.
How are you?
I am good. For some reason, it's still loading, but I hope you all see me.
I think so.
Hi.
You know what I love about this Instagram Live now? We can actually use filters.
I
Where
know.
before we couldn't, and I would always go on these lives and I never have eyelashes, so I just put the eyelash filter on. I'm so excited.
It's so excited. We are
Yeah.
creating eyelash filter with our designer for, we want to create like 5 different filters with different like effects, like cat eye, doll,
Oh
squirrel,
yeah.
like,
Okay, make it like a natural one too, because the natural ones are like my
all of the
favorite.
all of the effects that we have. So hopefully, finger
I'll
crossed, it
I'll
happen.
have a new eyelash filter then.
Yeah. Perfect. Hope everyone is amazing. Hi, hi, hi. I don't know if everyone know me. I'm Designer Pro on Instagram. Maybe somebody don't. And I'm so grateful that we connect with Monica and we're gonna talk about retention because I feel that's like such a big, big, big topic, always and forever, even for somebody who's been in the industry for really long.
Oh my gosh, totally. I swear, even up until like probably last year sometime, maybe a year and a half ago, I don't know, a while ago anyways, I was honestly like still sometimes struggling with retention, like especially in the summertime. Like in the summertime I was like, I'm quitting lashing because I was like, I'm all my clients would come back and they would have like hardly any lashes left, and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, I think I wanna make a bold statement right before. As some of you know, we do have a product, and the thing is, being in the products now, I know that's not a glue fall if it's not working. I've been on your sites before, like I've been a lash artist for 8 years of my life, in the beginning of my career, I always blame glue.
Yes.
But to make it clear, absolutely, glue will always work if you know how to work it.
I
Like,
100% agree
I
with
think,
you.
like, make it till the end of the video. If you make it till the end of the video, you will know how to work with the glue in different environment. But most important, glue will always work.
Yeah.
It's gonna acrylate the main ingredients in the glue. It can be tricky, and depending on the consistency of the glue, you have to change something. Like glue can be more thicker or more thinner. Depending on that, you have to know how to use it. Depending on your environment, you know how to use it. When the temperature change, when humidity change, or if you work in an environment where you can't even control it, you need to know how to use it.
Absolutely.
All of this glue will still work. It doesn't matter if 0.5 or 1 second glue, or if somebody needs 2 seconds. I don't know. I personally never worked with that, even when I was beginning, because I felt it's too slow.
2 second. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's too
But I
slow.
personally highly recommend to have 2 glue in your studio to work with, because sometimes what's happening is your environment changed throughout the day, and now your glue doesn't work, like 0.5 second glue doesn't work, or 1 second glue doesn't work, so you can switch and you don't have a problem anymore.
Totally. So what I do, I do exactly what you say. I generally keep 2 adhesives on hand because sometimes, like you said, like I find especially too for here, like we're spring right now, right? So in the mornings, we're still cold here. So it's still, sometimes freezing in the morning, but then by the afternoon it warms up. So I notice the difference between just even from my morning client to like, let's say my afternoon or evening clients on the days that I take evening clients. So that's huge. I do that too.
A lot of times we don't think about, it's not only humidity and the temperature in our room, it's amount of oxygen. Oxygen also relate and actually because we're working with chemicals, so everything what's in the inside of the room also will relate, you know. So why a lot of times when it's a big conferences, when it's a competition, glue really stop working, because it's a lot of CO2 exhaling going on at that time, and it's no oxygen going inside because they don't open the windows.
Yeah.
So it's harder for the glue to work. But if we're gonna go into basics, you know, what you need to know about the glue, I would say it's definitely humidity. And
yeah, so for me, like, I have a pretty big space, so like changes, right? All of ours does from the winter to the summer. So I find in the winter time, sometimes I'll run my humidifier. And then in the summertime, actually in the summertime, I almost generally always are running my humidifier all day. So I'll come, because I am home-based, I work from my home. So I'll come downstairs from where I'm working and I'll turn my humidifier on first thing in the morning. Because I find that even if in the summertime, when I come down first thing in the morning, the humidity is already way too high. So I will generally run my, my dehumidifier is what I meant. So I'll generally run my dehumidifier. Probably I'll start it maybe an hour or so before my first client, just so that I can make sure that I have my humidity level where I want it to be.
okay, we do have questions. I don't know if we're gonna leave it in the end, or should we answer it as we go?
I guess let's just answer it right now so that it doesn't get lost.
This may be totally wrong, but I find out that if I keep glue dots too close together without putting a water drop on all the dots or wiping them away, that also affect the glue. Absolutely, because first of all, it's acrylate, the old one will, like the fume from it will still be there nearby the next one, or if you like drop the water, then there will be more humidity right there, so it's going to be like shocking crystallization going on. So by the time you're getting it into the lash, it's only enough the glue, it kind of like a stick, but it's not going to stay. It's not enough, like it was a shocking crystallization happening right in the dot. So you shouldn't put the water right away to crystallize it, or at least you have to use a couple of dots, like, you know, like couple of, like you're working in the glue dots, couple of dots like behind. I usually like to work like if it's a glue dots, you know, it's dots here, dots on the opposite side.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect my glue like know-how.
Right. So I actually use one of the glue wells. That's what I use. But I'll use it for way too long. But actually, what I was going to say is, before we even talk about adhesive, I think one of the most important things for retention is actually cleansing. And I feel like we say this all the time, but like I feel like we need to say it all the time, because for me, for my clients, I know everybody has different protocols, right? But for me, I want to cleanse their lashes first before anything else, because then I know that I've gotten into that lash line and I've cleaned it properly. Even if they've come straight from the shower, a lot of the times, most of us have already put on eye creams and serums and stuff, and so it's all around our eyes, right? So for me, I'm cleansing their lashes so that I make sure that I've gotten right down to the lash line and I cleanse every time. And one thing that I'm gonna mention is what I do. I actually add a little bit of baking soda to my cleanser. So the reason why I do that is because baking soda strips oils. So if they have any oils or, leftover makeup or whatever, that tiny bit of baking soda I find really helps, especially for your clients who are more on the oily side. Like a lot of the times you can see if your client has, oily, more oily skin, their hair is maybe a little bit more shiny. For those clients, I find that the baking soda makes a huge difference. So don't ask me the ratio because I don't know what it is. I'm going to say maybe like a half a teaspoon to like a bottle like this size. So what I'll do is I'll just put my baking soda in there. I put my cleanser in there, I put my water in there, and then I shake it all up so that it's nice and mixed up.
Oh, I think It's about measuring.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's like an eyeball. Like, oh, like I said, maybe half a teaspoon. No. So, okay. So here's what I did do. So I took a webinar actually on hormones and that kind of thing, and they had actually mentioned the baking soda. So what I did before I started mixing it in with my cleanser, and I don't recommend this because this is one of my good clients. She's been with me forever, but I actually took the baking soda and I put it straight on her lash line. I don't recommend that. Don't do that. I thought, oh, I'll just put a little bit on, and no. Oh, hi, my sister's here. Sorry. So what I did is I actually put it straight onto her lash line, thinking like, oh, this will work fine. Yeah, she's like, my eye's stinging. It feels gritty in my eyes. I had to flush dry a couple times. She was fine. It just was like that initial little bit. But so now what I've started doing is just like I said, mixing it in with my cleanser, and that's actually it's not irritating because I'm not putting enough in there that it's staying gritty, and it's mixing enough in there that it's not irritating their eyes. And I've honestly been doing this probably for like a year now.
Okay. Did you find out that retention get better, or if you cleanse? I personally, like, I never done it, so I can. You might do kind of similar things because they created like with the formula with kind of like stripping the natural oil. So
So yeah, sorry, it is Prolong that I use, but I've always used Prolong cleanser. Like I've been using it, and like I mean sometimes I'll use different brands, but mostly I'm using Prolong cleanser. So I'm mixing that baking soda in with my Prolong cleanser, and I've been using Prolong for probably maybe a couple of years now. But I just started mixing in the baking soda probably about, I don't know, like I said, maybe about a year ago.
Did you find out the difference? Like,
like I said, I've had better retention in probably the last year and a half, but I've also been using more adhesive because that also comes into play as well, right?
So
like,
say if it's working or not. It's just like the combination. So you don't know like if it's adding the more adhesive or, that actually, or combination both together.
Yeah, so I do find that for my, I had one client who definitely was a little bit more oily, like I said, and for her, we had some issues with retention. And she's the one who I did the straight baking soda on, which I actually don't recommend. But, then once I started mixing it in, I 100% think it makes a difference. It takes that shininess out of the lashes, right? Like it takes off that shine. So, I mean, that shine is oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sorry. I use baking soda for every client. So when I cleanse, like I said, my cleanser is the same for every client. So I've mixed in, somebody did ask that question. Oh, I think that's my sister.
Let me get it straight for everyone who probably didn't listen in the beginning. She add 1 tablespoon of baking soda into the cleansing bottle.
Not a tablespoon, about a half a teaspoon.
Half tablespoon. Yeah, so very little amount to the whole bottle. Not like personally on each client eyelashes, and don't get it into the eye, because they may say something. Remember, we work with clients. I don't want to do anything easy. What I will recommend, what I do for my clients, I never use primer. I always use just the shampoo, but the way I'm cleansing it, it's not only just the lashes. I'm cleansing everything around, and if I need to, I can even wipe the forehead because I'm touching the forehead, and technically if like you crystallize or anything, like the oils in our hands, like I know like people say it's nothing, but I personally don't crystallize, so it's straight from the glue ring. Like I use the glue dots or tape. I don't use the glue rings. I think it's too much of the surface for the glue to dry faster, so I'm not saying I'm against it, like if it's worked for you, but I'm just saying like I use the glue dots or the tape, and I change my glue very often. I'm making sure that I'm working only with the fresh glue, but technically you can't just wash the lashes. You have to wash literally like out all the area because everything it's oil, so they don't wash everything. And then definitely when I wipe, like it's two things what I usually do. Either I wash it myself, but I don't like to use a squeezy bottle. Personally, for me, when somebody use it on me, it feels uncomfortable. It feels like what's gonna be talking.
Do you know what helps with that?
Yeah, warmer bottle. I know,
Warm it. Yeah.
It's a warmer, like for me, it's too long.
Okay.
I don't like the mess that I have to hold it. I'm trying to make everything so simple in the room, so everything is fast. I'm trying to work on the speed for the clients, especially when I worked in New York. Everything, it's a fast speed. I don't have for, like, that's gonna take me extra, like, 3-4 minutes there, 3-4 minutes there. So increase, the time for 15 to 20 minutes. It's not like it's impossible for me. I'm taking warmer, like I have this warmer bottle because it's a squeeze bottle, but I don't put it on the eyes because personally for me as a client, when I had it on me, I didn't like it, even if it's warmer. It feels still shocking and with the closed eyes and somebody pour water on me. So what I do, I use cottons with that warm water and I will wipe very well, and then I wipe everything until it's completely dry. Like it have to be so dry so nothing is there.
Yeah.
I will wipe it until I can. But most of the time I will go into the restroom with my client and I will wash it for them, and then they wash it with, like, with their own hands in the end. So this way I'm using 2 stones. I show them how they have to cleanse lashes at home.
Yes, that's a good idea. That is a good idea. Because a lot of the times too, I find that people, when you get in the shower and you're washing your face and you do this, and then you can't get into the lash line. So you'll find that too for people who wear a lot of eye makeup. So they're not actually kind of lifting, especially for those of us who have, a little bit of a hooded eye. We almost have to lift up our eyelid to even get into that lash line to cleanse it, right? So if we're in the shower and we're doing this, we're cleaning our eyelids, but we're not getting into that lash line. So, we almost have to remember that we have to do this motion in the shower so that we're getting into the lash line and cleansing it as a client, right?
Yes. Yeah. So,
so I was going to say, actually, I actually do use the water bottle, but what I do is I warm it up every time for each client, right? So I'll just go to the bathroom and, put warm water in it, and I do a steady stream on each eye. So it's not as shocking, but each to their own. It's a personal preference and everybody kind of has their own process, right?
Yeah, it is a process. It's the most important. It's not the process. The most important, it's the lashes are clean, having nothing on,
Yes.
So as I say, for 8 years, I don't use the primer on lashes, even for oil clients, because with the simply like washing lashes with the shampoo, it's when you don't want, you don't use any primer for your hair to take off the oil. So I primer on the cleanse because it's actually drying out too much, and we need to have extra moisture for the glue to be able to actually stick and polymerize with the natural lash. So if you need, you can just use the 2 times, like you can wash it 2 times, like the same with the oily hair, people have to wash it 2 times for the shampoo. So it's kind of like a similar process because we're working with the hair, and what's going on with the hair, it's we have a natural oil from follicle going into our lashes, right? So when I do it inside, like in the bathroom, when I show the clients how she have to do it, first of all, she feeling it, she feel the pressure, she feel that I do circular motions, because a lot of people, when you're saying that to them, it doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah.
So
sorry, somebody just asked here, what is your opinion on Bonder's alcohol-based post-treatment? So we kind of just did cover that, but I'm going to agree with Anna as well. Actually, I never use a primer. I think I have one client who the odd time I'll use a primer on. And just because, like I said, she is a little bit more, shiny. But other than that, I only cleanse and use adhesive.
I will add, if you want to do like a bonder, like the alcohol-based bonder, glue will work without anything, and it will look right if you know amount of glue what you need to take in your temperature and humidity level, and if you know what like the time of the glue you need to take for your, again, temperature and a humidity level. So if you have ideal temperature and humidity, like we say 40, it can range like 5%, 5 back and forth, it's fine. And your temperature is 70, again, it can range a little bit between, and all the glue will work.
Yes.
What change and what not work for you, the amount of glue what you take in. If you take a little bit more and you have ideal temperature, what's gonna happen if you're working with volume, thin glue will raise up, and that's why it's going to close the fan. So it's amount of the glue what you're taking, the way you're taking it. Are you dipping all the way in? Are you taking it with the you know, like you can dip with the side, you can dip from another side. It's picking up from different side of the lash. You can dip 90 degrees. You can dip too deep, like into the glue dot, so that's also too much glue. So you have to wait because it's a lot of glue, and then you need to have a little bit of amount of glue if it's ideal temperature. So if we're talking about you have a very low humidity, then everything change. Then you may need something to help out to dry, like, you know, you're already working this 0.5 second glue, but your humidity so low, like it's 12%, it's almost unbearable, you know. So glue doesn't have anything around, like sun acrylate doesn't have anything around, and it needs moisture, you know. So you may need to start using like a bonder, what speeded up that glue. But we're talking about extreme extreme environment where you cannot control it and you can't change it. You can't put the humidifier on, you know, nothing happening. So in this case, I will say yes.
So somebody asked you, do you ever use a lash sealer after the set? I don't.
No, I think, I mean, listen, I'm in the I'm producing the product, so I know a lot of things happening because of also the marketing. But sealers, I will say bonder, it's only one thing what I will need in my room, because I used to have these days when my 0.5 second glue and then 1 second glue, I always have two in my room, and that's the reason why we make like 3 grams in our brand, because they will, you know, so they will, you have both of them in the month, so you use all of them and then you don't waste the product. But I never use the sealer. I don't believe it's gonna like make any difference, because if the glue was applied correctly, and as the manufacturer promised, it's 8 weeks retention, for some clients less because of the metabolism too. If everything was correct, it was a little bit amount of glue in between lash and extension, so it's not that big, you know, because when it's that big, it doesn't create a good bond. It have to be flexible and really cool, like, you know, a little amount of glue. That's why we're using the thinner glue now. So if you did everything correctly, sealer will not make or break the deal. It's not going to do anything, because if it's 8 years of 8 weeks of retention, it will be still 8 weeks of retention. It's not going to make a 9 weeks.
So also another thing is too, is some people still don't know that you actually can't wash the lashes like right after you do an application. You absolutely can. You know, sometimes I have some clients who actually, you know, tend to be a little bit more sensitive to the adhesive, and, you know, sometimes their skin just gets a little bit, they almost get like, you know, dry skin. And so for those clients, what I'll do is I'll actually wash right after application. So like, you know, once I finish up, I place the last lash, then I'll kind of tidy up my area, let them sit for a couple of minutes so that I make sure that all the adhesive is dry. And then I'll wash their lashes exactly like I would have when I first started. So I do the lash bath, and like you said, I wash this whole area here to get rid of any of those lingering fumes that are sitting on their skin, right? And then I'll do the same thing, rinse, and then away they go. And that does not affect their retention. They don't call me the next day and say, all my lashes fell off.
As I mentioned, like we really making a huge bold statement up here. It's all about your application, girl. So
yes,
please never blame on glue or the client or anything else. You have to know your glue like your 5 fingers, and you have to adjust. You have to pivot. Depends on the lashes, depends on the temperature change in your room, depends on, you know, like if my humidity and temperature change, like I moved to Arizona, it's completely different clients. My 0.5 second glue, like my bond, my favorite to go glue from New York, really slower here. You know, I need to apply humidity, because in the area, in the air we have no humidity at all. So what humidity does, it's 2 ingredients in the glue, right? Acrylate, and it's a I will not remember it in English right now, my Russian stepping on my head, but it's like a stabilizer agent.
Yes.
And the stabilizer agent, it's also the most important, because that's how long the glue will not dry until this the stabilizer agent will evaporate, and the moisture helping that to get it away. So without the moisture, the crystallization will just not happen. So that's the reason when you in the drier climate, in the like Arizona like, it will just not gonna work, you know, like you have to pivot. So I just finished, you know, doing few models for my online classes, and I have to like, in one day I have to put the humidifier, the other day I was too like busy to do that, so I have to use a little bit of the bonder to be able to like just speed it up my glue, because I like to work faster. Also I have to pivot the amount of the glue, because if it's like, you know, so low in humidity, I need to use less glue, even less. So the amount what I'm taking, you know, it's so little, so when by the time I get it into the lash, it finally can start drying out and not getting my fan to close. And if I'm working on, for example, 80% of the humidity, when I'm in New York and it's freaking raining outside, I have to either work with point, like instead of 0.5, I'm working with 1. So my 1 will work as 0.5, or I have to take more glue in 0.5. So by the time I get like a little bit more macro dots, you know, like when I put it on, it's more glue to dry, so it's still not dry. Because sometimes what's happening, a lot of times you still picking up exactly the same amount of glue, and it's like freaking 60 or 70, you know, humidity in the room. And then what happened, it's just dry before you, it's crystallized before you even put it on the lash. And then what happens, feels like it's stick, but it was not enough of any of the ingredients, like, you know, to actually create a really bond.
So that's another thing too. So let's say our conditions are ideal, you know, we have our humidity is right where it needs to be for that adhesive we're working with, and our temperature is perfect for the adhesive that we're working with, which, you know, keep in mind every adhesive is different, right? So you kind of have to figure out the one that works for your area. But like I was saying, let's say everything is perfect. Now, one huge thing is using enough adhesive. A lot of the times people aren't actually using enough, and that's going to affect your retention as well. There's such a fine line too between using too much adhesive and not enough. But if you find, like Anna said, if you get to that, you know, you've picked up your adhesive on your fan and you go and you're trying to place it on the lash and you think it's on there but it just flips off, chances are you don't have enough, or like she said, you know, your environment is off, so that by the time you get that fan to that lash, it's already almost cured. So you need to be picking up a little more adhesive then in that case.
So we have kind of, I have some clients that with a great retention and sometimes with just okay retention. Is this application or is that something the client is doing to affect retention? So I will say, I mean, it is many things what can happen. We was just having a clubhouse before about the hormones too, you know, like can affect it, the way people eating, if they stressed out before. Megan, my ambassador, she was telling us the story that by the time she worked in the dermatologist's office, they also say, like, if you have tremendous trauma, you know, like was sick or in a car accident or something else, and 6 months later, you're gonna experience a hair loss and lash loss. You know, who knew that? But what I will say, you need to ask your clients, and if they can really prove it to you that if their lashes falling out without their natural lashes or if they falling out with a natural lashes, because we all do have a different metabolism. I had clients who changed the diet and metabolism changed, and they have to come back for me in 2 weeks and they have 0 extensions. And it was my friend Gladly. So she go to different lash artists and exactly the same happening. So I know it wasn't my application, it wasn't my adhesive, you know, it was just her lashes completely almost changing the cycle in amount of 2.5 weeks, which is crazy. We don't think about it. I never thought that even be able to be possible. But I will ask my clients if that's falling out with the natural lashes or without the natural lashes first, to be able to at least know, where do I start looking? Do I start looking into my application or I start looking into clients, you know, like doing something? I will want to say I always blame myself first.
Absolutely.
I think agree, that's the way you will grow, because the clients don't care if, you know, if it's the application, like they don't take care about lashes, they will just don't come back to you. They will go to somebody else, and you want to keep the client. So blame yourself first, not in a bad way, but in a way it was like, what can I do to make it better so the client will stay to me and keep bring me, you know, the money and income what I need, and recommend me to other clients.
I would also say too, like, if consistently you have clients that have bad retention, most likely it's not them, it's something that you're doing. So if, you know, like you said, if you have the odd client who you're like, okay, I have no idea what happened, like they're coming back with 0 lashes, like, and that's a one-off thing, potentially it's not something you're doing. It's like you said, it's their hormones. Like I just had one client too who, you know, she just had a baby, and we were kind of getting to a space where, you know, she was having good retention, and then all of a sudden she didn't again. But she said, you know, she had said like she was kind of stressed out, and so that, like you said, it does have an effect on our lashes, right? But hormones is a huge thing too. So if it's only, if, you know, like I said, 1 or 2 clients and you have your regular clientele and they're all coming back with great retention, you know, your application is probably pretty good. But if it's consistently all of your clients, it's not all of your clients. It's something that you're doing as a lash artist. So, you know, like Anna said, you know, we blame ourselves first, but only in a way to educate ourselves so that we can provide a, you know, a service for our clients where they don't have to come back and see us every week because they have almost no lashes left. Like we don't want to see them every week. Like, sure, I guess maybe some of you do, but I tell my clients, like, listen, I love you guys. I don't want to see you every week though. Like, you know, come in every, and even if they want them more full sometimes because they're going on vacation or whatever, come back in 2 weeks. But generally, no, you come back at 3 weeks. Like you should be able to make it to that 3-week mark. Your clients, I should say, should be able to make it to that 3-week mark without 1 eyelash hanging off here and 2 eyelashes hanging off here. If all your clients are consistently coming back at that time with 1 or 2 eyelashes left on each eye, you're doing something wrong. But it's easy, like we said, to fix it, you know, like I find that sometimes it's troubleshooting. It's with any job, we have to troubleshoot, right? So did we cleanse them? You know, we go through the questions with them. For me, I find it's not even that they've been wearing a lot of makeup. Like if they've been wearing strip lash glue, that's a different story. But, you know, I have one client who, she loves makeup. She wears makeup all the time. And, you know, she even comes into her appointment and I have to extra clean her. But she has amazing retention. So it's not even that she's wearing too much makeup, you know, for, like I said, we just have to make sure that our application, we're doing our application properly. Yeah.
Yeah. So as Megan say right now in a comment, it's that you know, like you can troubleshoot together, as you mentioned too.
Yes.
That's fast because the client will feel like they are special. You
Yes.
know why, as individual lash artists, we're so different from the salons, like a big salons, the chains where everyone coming like for 1 hour appointment, because we do care about the like our clients, and our clients love that, and that they feel like specially treated. So we have to, as a service provider, provide them the best service and treat them as we do care why their lash is falling out, and not just blame, or that's just you have that metabolism and there's just nothing what I can do, because one day they'll go somewhere else and then the lashes will stay longer, and guess what? They will stay with someone who lashes stay longer, even if sometimes the lash set may be not as great as yours. But clients care about, like what I find out through my, you know, career. Like I'm a Russian lash artist who love perfect line, you know, but the clients don't understand that.
Yes.
Some clients do, but some clients don't. So they are gonna stay with someone whose like lashes stay longer.
Absolutely. Even if they're stuck together, I find sometimes, you know, they'll say, oh, my lashes lasted forever, but you know, they all were stuck together. So it's not even that the lashes were lasting as long, it's that they were stuck together. You know, there was multiple natural lashes stuck together, so then multiple fans stuck together, so they weren't even hanging onto that lash, they were hanging onto other lashes around them. So of course, you know, it's gonna look more full, but you know, they probably went through a period where it was like a little bit pinchy or uncomfortable and it hurt and they didn't know why. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's exactly like you said. If your retention is no good, you're going to lose clients. So for me, yeah, I would probably try everything I could for that client before I would let them go. You know, like I would do everything I could really for them.
What is your stance on taking during appointments? I usually, like, you know, I will explain clients. I think the first one where I'll definitely explain how important to wash the lashes. Have 0 questions. I will show them that they need to wash it from the top and the bottom, you know, because a lot of clients, they're afraid to doing that because they're afraid to like ruin the lashes, as they say. They feel like it's gonna like actually fall out, and then explain them in a way that it's actually will not, and it's gonna make it last longer, you know. So like I kind of educate them. During an appointment, I really don't talk with clients at all. 0. I put podcast. I say it so many times in lives. I let them know my email will go to my clients the day before, 2 days before, and like, you know, during the application, like while they book the appointment. So it's every single email. We're gonna talk about my cancellation policy, so they remember and they have no blames on me when they forgot. And another thing, I will tell them, like, bring their own headphones or like podcast what they love, or you know, I can provide them any podcast or TV show what they want to listen.
Yes.
So during appointment, like a lot of people talk about like, oh, why my appointment takes so long? Are you talking with your clients? Because if you're talking with your clients, it's going to take 30 to 40 to 50 minutes longer just on that. We're not talking about isolation, picking up the glue, any other stuff with importance to speed up your application. Just talking with your clients will take so much longer time. Even with me, who's like I felt like I'm doing it for so long. If I talk to my clients, it's still longer.
Yes, I agree. What I do is I catch up with my clients in the beginning, right? While I'm doing all my prep and I'm cleansing, and you know, that's our time to kind of catch up, right? And then once we start lashing, then I do the same thing as you. Then, you know, I put on a podcast or I put on music. It makes your life so much easier. Sorry, so somebody did ask this question here. It's been asked again, but so they asked why the lashes sting in the weeks following the lash appointment, but not during. So I have actually come across this question as well. I've seen lots of people ask this question. So what happens is they get into the shower. So this could even be, like I said, weeks afterwards, right? And every time their eyes are stinging as soon as their lashes get wet. What that is it's the lashes themselves. It's whatever is on those lashes, the material of those lashes is somehow comes off.
You have to change the lashes, guys. Like, legitly, it's not glue. They're not allergic to glue. Glue crystallize. Let's just, again, another bold statement. Today it's like all about bold statement. If you don't know how to work with glue, glue will not work for you. Second statement, glue will not sting, don't produce any fume next day. That's it. It's done. It's crystallized completely in next couple of hours. That's why they can go to the shower next couple of hours. That's the Monica say, like she sometimes wait for a couple of minutes to be able to let it the whole crystallization process finished, and then that's she washing the lashes right after. But next in 2 hours, there's completely nothing in.
Right, exactly. So if it's stinging days or weeks afterwards, it's the lashes. So change your lashes, find a different manufacturer or a different distributor. It's whichever.
Change the brand. Change the brand.
Yeah.
You know, stinging cannot be due to buildup. No. It is like literally the polyester, or like the material what they made of. It's made with a poor, very cheap quality material. So why it's happening, it's like a little things going into the client's eye. So just remember that if they stinging 2 weeks, like week later, it's not about glue.
Okay, so somebody asked here too, is wrapping it a certain way going to matter as far as retention?
I couldn't. It's so many teachers who will say yes.
Yes.
I personally will say no. I didn't wrap before, have amazing retention, because if you picking up a right amount of glue and you placing it on a fast enough time, so isolating lash first, analyzing the way you want to put it, so you have your direction already in your head before you start to take in the glue. So you're not like, I didn't oscillate, I put the glue, I create the beautiful fan, and then like, oh, where's my oscillation? You oscillate, then you lose the second. Then you're like, what direction should I apply it? Should I apply top, bottom, side, and another side? You know, and then you just kind of like lost all this precious time what we needed for the application. So wrapping can help the retention. I wrap only in this. I wrap only when I need it. Like when it's the lash growing too down, so I need to like either wrap, or too up, I need to wrap it, or it's very crooked, so I need to wrap it to have my 90-degree direction, because I work certainly only 90-degree direction to the lash line. So I need to create this beautiful look, and I will use the wrapping according when I need it, but the rest of the time I use a regular application. Like I'm not always wrapping.
Right. So I shouldn't say I don't use pre-mades. I have used pre-mades. I hand make my fans. But in the instance of, you know, people who do pro-make their fans, so you're making your fans ahead of time, or pre-mades, the ones that are, you know, pre-made by the manufacturers. I did one eye one time just as an experiment to see if I would have better retention on the one eye where I did handmades and I, you know, wrapped the ones I could. You're not going to get a wrap every single time. Now, in an ideal world, sure, you'd get a wrap every time. But as an everyday working lash artist, you're not going to get every single lash to wrap. It just doesn't happen. So, you know, like I said, comparing the one eye with handmades and the one eye with pre-mades, factory pre-mades, I couldn't tell the difference in retention between the two. This all goes back to using the right amount of adhesive. If you're using, but let's just say it, let's put it out there.
If it's right enough
adhesive.
Yeah, if it's enough, it's enough. All what adhesive do, if you did it correctly, it will stick, and with how it will be there for this amount of time. With manufacturer promise you, unless it's some problem with the clients, like they have faster metabolism, because we all individuals have different metabolism completely. Like one person will have metabolism of 6, like, you know, like we're all different. So after you apply it correctly and you 100% know that you use everything, like amount of glue what you pick up, it's a macro dot in the end. Like, you know, I usually always put my fan 90-degree, just a tiny bit, because remember the glue always will raise up. So if you take too much of, you know, and deep it on the side, what's gonna happen, it's gonna raise up and close your fan. And then you blame glue, it's not fast enough. It's actually fast, but it's just because it's so thin, it's literally like raising in the fan and closing your fan.
Yeah, that's called wicking. For anybody who doesn't know, what happens is, like she said, it's, you know, glue is a liquid substance. It what happens is it travels up that fan if you've used too much, and it'll close that fan up. So if you're sometimes people will get that, well, they're like, well, I don't understand, like, why aren't my sets as fluffy, or why aren't my fans as, you know, wide? And a lot of the times you can actually see that what's happened is they probably, you know, I had one student who actually, she made amazing, perfectly symmetrical fans, but she was working too fast. So she wasn't holding it, you know, she was using a good amount of adhesive, but she actually wasn't holding long enough that fan. So she would basically place it, and then what happened, as soon as she would place it, because she didn't hold long enough, that glue would wick up that lashes and close that fan right up. So, you know, her fans were perfect. They looked amazing. And if she could have just held for that extra second longer, she would have had, you know, gorgeous fluff. But because she kept letting go just that second too quickly, every time those fans would close up.
Yeah. Or sometimes you can decrease a little bit of the glue to see, but you know, you still need a glue. But I put it and I like count in my hand 1, 2, and then I release and let it be. 1, 2, I release and let it be. You know, so just also like we have that saying in permanent makeup, work slower, you're gonna work faster. A lot of students don't understand it, but I think you can always say it in the lashes, kind of similar. You work slower, saying like you leave this amount of time, like 1, 2, and then you release, you will work faster. You have more fans not closing up, you know, not closing up. We have that conversation, I think, with so many like lash artists in here who's like, crystallization, no crystallization. People who crystallize, the lash fan will never close up. I'm like, I worked with the fans and I'm not crystallizing. My fans are not closing up because if I'm just waiting for the glue to dry and use it correctly, you know, so my fans are not closing up either. So they only closing up because of the clients have a lot of oil, so they come back for me like this, and when I wash it and brush it and dry it, it still opens up. So it's not really about the crystallization of right or wrong, or using just handmaids and right away putting it on the client's lash of right or wrong. It's whatever will work for you, but you just need to like nail it. You just need to know it from every single point of that view, and not saying one method better than another. Both of these methods works. Like for me, I feel crystallization, it's a little longer than if I just made the fan right away.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that too. I have one client who I do pre-make for sometimes because she's, you know, she's a mom, she's busy. Sometimes appointments will take longer, but honestly, I find that pre-making sometimes would take just as long, if not longer, if I just hand make the fan at the same time.
Do you guys do saline rinse after, or only Nanomost? Distilled water is bad and saline is better. I don't agree that saline is better because it's still some chemicals. So regular water shampoo, that will be everything what I need, but like I will not use saline in any of the clients after. I think this is not needed. I will understand, like if you ask me like what's the point, what's the reason behind it? Nanomist, yeah. Okay, I will use Nanomist, and I will use the fan, but it's more for luxury services. It just feels nice, you know. It feels nice, like when I do it on top, it feels very nice. When I give them a fan, sometimes when they open too early because of the fume just get into the eye and they experience non-comfortable, you know, they feel uncomfortable. Fan help to just get the fume out of the eyes. It's not drying anything, it doesn't do anything to the glue, it's just helping to get the fume out of the eyes so they feel a little bit of the like more comfortable. But it's more like for the services. I'm like, let me just spray it another mist for him, and I'm doing it from far away so I don't create a shocking polymerization of the few last lashes what I applied, you know. So I'm doing it from far. I'm like, let me just spray it on you. They feel like super pampered, and it's just the customer service.
So essentially what she's saying is it's not, by you nanomisting, it's not going to give you better retention. Essentially, it's really just something to, like she said, it's a bit of a pamper after the service. I used to nanomist all the time. I don't think I've picked my nanomister up in probably 2 years, not even in the wintertime. Just because once you understand the way that the adhesive works and your environment, you know, your humidity and your temperature, we don't really need all those things. All those things are just extra things. We don't need the fan doesn't dry the glue. Air doesn't dry the glue. Like she said, it'll get rid of those fumes once you've placed your last lash, but it's not going to dry the adhesive. Adhesive doesn't dry, it cures. Same thing with, you know, doing the nano mist. Essentially, because we're working with 1 second glue, you've placed that extension, that glue is cured. So the nano misting is really, like she said, it's just kind of an added little service.
Yeah, I think like a full curation, I don't want to like create misconceptions and like misunderstanding. Like a 0.5 seconds, it's exactly the time when it's going to be attached to the lash, but the full curation happen like 7 to 10 minutes, something like that. That's why sometimes you may experience that few lashes can stick together, even if it's like you hold it for that long, you know. But other than that, the whole lash is already like cured by the time when you place in few last lashes. So this few, like it's only, this mister will be like, okay, this is going to be for this 2, 3, 4, 5 lashes what you applied. So we have another question. It's like, I had pretty uncomfortable stinging following a volume set from a tag that uses a reputable and popular company. Could it be something else besides just poor quality causes? I want to say, you know, being in a manufacturer, sometimes you don't I don't want to say anything, but I just want to say sometimes we don't know if our manufacturer changed the lashes. They can change the material, not let us know about it. And sometimes you may get like bad bunch of the product what you bought. And unless somebody will tell them, they will not know that that happened.
Yes, exactly.
This is just can happen. This is just in anything, you know, they change something, they think it's the same kind of material, but like maybe the manufacturer was sending you the materials trying to make the lashes cheaper so they can make more profit. We don't know. You know, they will not tell us. So that case may happen. I'm not saying that's going to be all the time, because I'm pretty sure they're going to try to fix this problem. So they will come back to the same material that they use. But sometimes you may get a bad batch, you know, of lashes when you buy it. But if it's a week later, I will not know another cause. Like if it's 2 days later, I don't know, maybe like you're sensitive to something, you know, maybe it's too close to your eyes and then you feel that the lash is touching your skin and then you feel irritation, but a few days later they grew a little bit, like a 0.5, like point something millimeters, they stopped touching your skin. But if it's still a week later, I don't know. I will not say what exactly can cause it.
Here's a way to test that. That same client that had their lashes stinging, if you think that maybe it could be the lashes, try a different brand on that same client and see what happens. On that same client, if you try a different lash brand and they say it was fine, there was no stinging, potentially it was those lashes.
Yeah, so let's go to the next. What is your favorite lash brand or lashes? I couldn't say just because I have my own brand, so like that's no way I will like answer. I think like you, Monica, that's your kind of.
I'm not gonna say either, because I don't actually have a favorite of anything. No, I'm not gonna say that. I have favorites that are specific things, but they're all from different brands. I can't say that I am like 100% loyal to one brand, because I love different products from different brands. Like I'm gonna say I love Anna's Secret tweezers. That is my go-to tweezer. I probably have, I don't even know, 100 pairs of tweezers, and that's still my everyday go-to. Like I keep trying different tweezers and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll like these ones, and I've picked up, you know, ones on sale along the way, because I'm an everyday working lash artist and I like products that are on sale. So I'll be like, oh, I'll try this. But I still always go back to those Secret tweezers. Those are my favorite. And as far as adhesive goes, I feel like adhesive changes. I'm always like trying different adhesives. Like right now I use Power Bond from London Lash Pro. It's a black adhesive. For the longest time I used clear. I don't know. I just like to switch it up. And as far as lashes go, I kind of use lashes from wherever at lots of different companies. I'm always trying different lashes just because I like to see what's out there. I like to try different lashes. I don't know. No favorites.
Thank you so much.
Except for the tweezers.
Yeah, thank you so much. Somebody just lash confident. Love my tweezers. Thank you so much. I still test all my tweezers myself, so I really like. That was my pain before when I was a working lash artist. All the time, like tweezers. That was my big pain.
And you know what I have to say too? So I try to stay away from tweezers that have any sort of like a color to them. And generally I don't like black tweezers, just because there's not enough contrast between the lashes and the tweezers. But yours I feel like are good because they're not shiny. I don't know. They work. But also the reason why I stay away from that is because in Canada we have to put our instruments into like a sterilization liquid. So it's a CS20, right? And I actually always forget my tweezers in there. So for me, if I have tweezers that have any sort of a finish on them, that finish is gone by the next day because I always forget my tweezers in there. But the ones, my Secret tweezers are still black.
So I will tell you the difference. So it has two coats. Usually it's double coated. You know, some tweezers are double coated when it's a paint on them. Like our white and gold tweezers, it's a paint on it. You can't leave it on. You cannot leave it. It's on the website for longer than 15 minutes in the solution, because technically you don't need kind of, I don't know, like get guidelines on Canada, but you technically in United States, you don't have to leave anything longer than 15 minutes because technically we're not working with blood. If like I am also a permanent makeup artist, so I do, if I don't have disposable needles and I have to leave it in the sanitation, then I sterilization, and then also temperature, like, you know, we have to like also go through temperature if you're working with blood, so kill everything. Since we're not working with the blood and body fluids, technically it's a 15 minutes. So 15 minutes is okay for the paint, but if it's you leave it for like paint longer than 15 minutes, you're gonna have a gold tweezers, guys. They still gonna work. That's happened with us. Like, oh, your tweezers like you know, like the gold, like the white is fading, and it's, I'm like, how long you leaving in the sanitation solution? It's just the paint, you know, obviously it's like an acetone for the nails. It's gonna take away the color. So you're just gonna have a gold tweezers. But if you buy the coated tweezers, like a black coat tweezers, it's mixed in the metal.
Yeah,
so it's gonna stay.
The only ones that didn't lose that. There is one question here that is fun. So it says, just out of curiosity, how long have you both been lashing, and what would you say are your weaknesses when it comes to lashing? Something you feel you personally need to work more on.
Okay, you want to go first?
One? Okay.
Right,
so I've been lashing for just over 6 years. I actually only do lashes. I don't do any other services. Geez, weaknesses? Oof. I'm gonna have to think about that for a second. Not that I think my work is perfect or anything. I think for me, sometimes I'm gonna say business is not my strong suit. I don't love the business aspect of being a business owner. I know that's crazy to say, but like, I don't enjoy accounting. I don't enjoy enforcing client policies. Like, I don't enjoy that kind of stuff. And I definitely need to be harder with that because, you know, sometimes I'll have clients who come back at 4 weeks and I'm like, dang, like I should have, you know, I need to be more, I guess, strict with them. But I'm like, oh no, it's fine. Like, just pay me for a fill. Like, it's okay, you know? So I'm definitely going to say that's probably one of my biggest things.
Okay, so I've been in the lash industry over 8 years now, and you know, till this year, I took the clients every day in New York. I had the studio. I took like 5-6 clients every single day, 5 days, 6 days a week. So by that time, I worked, like, you know, like my full set of volume was 2.5 hours. I complete every single lash, 100% of application. It's always my policy since I always study in Russia. This is what they stick into your head, like 100% application, it's must have. So since that, I never skip lashes, even if I have to lash in the beginning for 4 hours to complete like 4D set, you know, but my clients love me for that and stick with me. As you say, I hate selling, and since I am a brand now, this is something what I struggle with, even if I like hiring marketing team or anything like that. It's still hard for me to sell. Like, I know my you know, I know my products. I worked with my Bond and Chic glue for over 3 years before I even put it into the market. So I know it's working, but I can't go into the website, like, you know, in the online and say, oh my gosh, this is the best product. All of you have to buy it. This is not me. I will feel like I'm selling myself, and I'm not who I am, which is, I know it's like so bad for the business. Like, it's just awful, you know. It's awful. Like, my team pushing me sometimes, but this is something where I cannot do, and I know this is what sells. If you want to tell about, like, because I've been in the lash industry for so long, I would not say my lashes are the most amazing. I still have the Russian people who I'm like comparing myself to, and I want to grow to this level. I'm personally not strong with American volume because this is not my type of aesthetic. So this is why I'm not strong with that type of application. Like, I don't like big fans what open up this wild and it's not symmetrical. My background is design, and that's why I'm like, this is for me, like, just like I have twitching in my eye because it's not symmetrical and not aesthetic to me. I'm not saying anything against it. it's everyone, it's so different, have their own personal preference, but I think this is not my strong suit for sure.
I mean, the thing is we have to, I think we as artists in our work obviously are what brings in our clientele, right? Like yeah. You said, for me, I'm gonna agree. I'm kind of the same. I'm not huge on like mega volume, just because like, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. There is some amazing mega volume artists out there. For me though, I feel like I'm drawn to things that are more, you know, natural. I like more natural lash sets. So yeah, I just feel like that's the kind of clientele also that we bring in, is our clients who like that kind of thing as well, right? Now, people who love mega are probably going to go to somebody who is a really good mega artist. That's just not me.
Yeah, it's all clients for everyone, literally. It's just like you have to choose what really works for you. You all will like attract the people. Like, for example, I'm gonna say I'm in Arizona right now, right? Here it's all American volume, American volume, American volume. I'm not taking clients as a lash artist anymore. I'm doing only permanent makeup and doing my models, so I can really concentrate more on like specifics. Like, you know, like when I need to like work on some particular eyes, what I want to correct, I will find the model and work on it, so I can analyze and do a little more fun, like for lash community. But I find out like a lot of clients who come in for me for permanent makeup, they like, I want to have lashes like yours. I done my lashes with Brown in New York when I traveled with my artist, you know, so they were like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, so many people like having this crazy lashes and I don't know where to go to. So it is the clients who's like want to have it, they just don't have an artist to go to. So you choose your own aesthetic, like what's really work for you, what bring you the joy.
Absolutely.
For me, it's always symmetrical and like fans like this, like, you know, narrow fans, structure. I love structure in the lash sets.
Well, and it's funny too, because some people don't like classic lashes anymore. They don't want to do classic lashes. They take it off the menu. For me, I love classic lashes. If I could only do classic lashes, I would only do classic lashes. Like, that would be my dream clientele, is to have all classic clients. But
classic are harder. If anyone tell me it's not, it is harder.
I don't know. I honestly 100%.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
For beginners, why they prefer to like do a volume, because they put some fans, they don't really create the symmetry, they don't create the narrow fans, they don't follow this like ideal fan rules. So they apply whatever and it looks fluffy and volumed. If you will do classic and not apply it correctly, didn't follow direction, didn't follow layers, direction, application, every single lash apply, they will not look good. So that's the reason why you don't like classic, because you cannot achieve a full look and you cannot achieve the direction. Every single mistake in classic lashes will be visible. So if you don't have 100, that's why I'm saying classic are harder. It's not harder for somebody who's like doing it for so long, obviously.
That's right.
Like,
you're right.
Enjoying classic, because it's like, I don't have to create the fan, just pick it up and put it on, you know? But if you are new in it, you want to switch to volume right away, because the classic are harder. It shows every single mistake. Every single.
Absolutely.
That's why I'm saying the classic is fundamental.
Here's why you honestly have to at least, I think you have to have a good knowledge of direction. And like you said, volume hides flaws. Volume hides, you know, your direction. If your direction is off just a little bit in a classic set, it shows. But here's the reason why I feel like people need to still have a good idea of direction. Because if you want to create a wispy or a strip lash or a wet lash look, those are all things that go back to the fundamentals. A classic lash, your direction
I love you for that. I'm gonna have you.
Your direction has to be on point. If your direction is off, it's gonna show. So that's the difference, I think, between, you know, a nice symmetrical wispy set and a crazy messy set, is the direction.
I so agree, and that's why I can't. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say, like, you know, I'm gonna be real. Okay. I don't understand educators who say you can go to volume right away. I can't. I'm not agree with that. Like, you know, I can have my own opinion. I'm not agree with that
Absolutely.
because you're not teaching people right direction. You're not teaching people a fundamental, and you not allow them to actually have a classic lashes, which is still in demand, and it's gonna come back because people like the fashion go into the waves. In Russia right now, everything it's 2D and classic. 3D, very natural set, very short lashes. As some of you know, Russia brings the fashion into United States. So 4 years later in this industry, that's what we're gonna have. People would love to come back and switch all of these long lashes to short lashes because fashion will go back to like being natural, and we already can see the transformation right now. People like start wearing less makeup, go to more of a natural thing, like having more of a natural hair, you know, like showing more without the lashes. So remember, when that's gonna happen, what you're gonna do with like only volume, you know, we just need to, if you want to be educator later in your career, you need to know classic. So classic
And
is
the thing
still
is too is
fundamental.
if you want to call yourself a master lash artist, which, you know, let's be honest, a master lash artist is whoever gave whoever that title. I can call myself that, you can call yourself that. I don't call myself that, and here's why. Because I feel like you need to master all lash styles to call yourself a master lash artist, which, by the way, like, let's be honest, master lash artist, that could be anybody. Some people base it off experience, but for me personally, I feel like if I'm going to call myself a master lash artist, I'm going to master every single type of style out there. And I have not mastered mega volume. Maybe one day when I master mega volume, then maybe I'll call myself that.
And it's not the style coming in. Like, you know, like the right now it's the eyeliner, then wet style. It's going to be something else. And
Totally.
Yeah. So we do have a good question. Do you guys use humidifier and dehumidifier? Notice in my desert environment, it's very dry, so you usually don't need to blow it. But in some plants has a bad retention. I think we covered it in the beginning of the conversation, but if you didn't hear, I think Monica will save this live, right? So in your page, and then we'll repost it on my page. But in general, you do need to have a humidifier in a desert environment, because I'm in Arizona right now, and as I mentioned, my glue, what I loved in New York, started to work a little slower because it's literally no humidity. And as I mentioned, humidity is something what your glue just really need.
Okay, and so if somebody doesn't have one of these, you literally can pick this up at Walmart, Staples, wherever. So what this is a hygrometer. So this is how we monitor what the temperature and the humidity is in our room. So every day before I start work, I check this so that I know that my humidity is high enough. If it's too low, then I'll adjust accordingly, right? I'll turn my humidifier on, or I'll turn my dehumidifier on if it's too humid. Now, somebody had asked earlier, and I saw this too, which we didn't cover, but they had asked, how do you know what temperature and humidity your glue works at? Everyone is different. So wherever you're purchasing your adhesive from, you need to actually check that when you purchase, because most companies have that written in their, description. And if they don't, probably don't buy it, because you don't know what you're working with. You're going into it blind. But it'll say in the description, 0.5 second glue to 1 second, relative humidity level, this, between this
40,
and this,
60.
temperature between, exactly. So you're going to look at your, like I said, you're going to use your, your hygrometer or whatever, and you're going to figure out kind of an average of what your temperature and your humidity is at, and you're going to buy your adhesive accordingly.
Another thing, like huge thing, and I want another bold statement.
Give it to us.
If you adhesive say 20 to 80% humidity, it's bullshit. Because that's no way adhesive can work in all of this environment, because the chemicals inside and the stabilizer can only work in particular environment. So it's either it can be a long range. I have so many people, what from like the brand of your adhesive will work for any environment? I mean, they all work, but you need to pivot.
Yes.
They all work, but ideal always will be 40 to 60, like, or some other brands have like a lower like humidity or higher humidity, but it can be from 20 to 80. because it's the same sauna acrylate and it's a similar stabilizer agents, you know, so they will all evaporate faster. It's like a marketing trick. I can put on my adhesive that's work in any environment and just send you the video how to work with that in like any environment, so you will know. But it technically it work in any environment, but it's just the different how you will use it.
So I'm not a chemist. I really don't know a lot about that stuff. That's why I'm relying on, you know, our distributors to give us that stuff. So if you're ordering your adhesive off, let's say Amazon, and it's not listing all that stuff, chances are you should probably find a different adhesive, because we, like I said, we don't want to go into it blind. We want to know what we're working with. And because we're not chemists, we're relying on our distributors that we're, you know, our proven people who have done the research, who have looked into this. Like for me, I don't know, I'm not just going to buy an adhesive off of Amazon. I want to know that the one that I'm using is going to work in my environment, and what it says on that bottle is what's in the bottle itself.
It's a little tricky when they say 20 to 80%, like, you know, humidity, because it's a stabilizer agent have to be different for all of this range. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of a different adhesive for all of the range, which is sometimes manufacturer do, but I'm just saying, like, they all work from 20 to 80. It's just the difference is like it's not ideal. So you technically say all range, but the ideal will be still 40 to 60 or whatever, you know, like, because that's where the glue will work accordingly to what we're saying. Like we're saying 0.5, it will work like in 0.5, 40 to 60 in 70, like Fahrenheit, you know. The rest, it's still gonna work. You just need to either add humidity, either start to pick it up a little bit more of a glue, or when it's like, you know, when it's too high, like humidity too high, you pick it up a little bit more of a glue. Humidity too low, you start to use debonder. It's still the same glue, but now we have to add. So we have another question. What's the difference between American versus Russian volume? So American volume, it's a mega volume. It's 0.3, 0.2. Big fans, more than, I don't know, 10 to 20. Did I say it correctly? Russian volumes, it's more, that's a hard topic. So the Russian volume, it's originated in Russia. Like any volume you can say, it used to say Russian volume because 2, 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D. It was originated in Russia by the girl Irina Levchuk. So she created this method. So that's why the reason they called it Russian volume. Now they become like American volume, the Russian volume, which is technically still volume, but American volume, it's more of the bigger fans using big, like, you know, more of a fans, 0.3, 0.2. Russian volume, it's wider fans, very structural, 0.7, 0.5. We don't even have like like brands who sell in 0.3 in Russia. Not
I think shorter lengths too, right?
Shorter lengths.
Russian mega sets are shorter.
Working with layers, perfect line on top. So it's layers, like a narrow fence, structural work. Most of the time we're all working with 6 millimeters, sometimes 4 millimeters. A lot of Russian artists use 4 millimeters in the inner corners, which makes sense for longer retention. It's harder for us to work, but for the clients it actually makes sense because this little babies doesn't, you know, fall out the firstest. They stay for longer. So my sets always start at 6 or 5 millimeters.
So we should actually touch on that too, because that is something that also does affect your retention. If you're using lengths that are too long for your set, that are too long for that client's natural lashes, chances are they're not going to have great retention because you're using lashes that are too heavy, too long for the natural lash. So for me, generally when I'm like, not when I'm doing a strip lash set, let's just say I'm doing a regular volume set. Usually the longest length that I'll ever use is 12 millimeters. The odd time, like, you know, I guess when I'm doing a strip lash set, that's when I'm working with a longer length, sometimes 13 or 14 millimeters, but generally 12 is the longest that I'll use. A lot of my clients actually wear like a 7 to, I can't work with 4s. I die. I tried it. I tried a 5. I was like, okay. So 6. I guess there you go. There's a weakness. I can't work with 4s and 5s. Like, I guess I just have
I'm going to tell you the trick. If you work, all of my 5 or 6 millimeters, always C-curl.
Okay.
I don't need the D-curl here. I can
I
switch to the C.
still tried it, and I was like, oh, I can't even, how do people even make a fan with this? It's so short. So what I was saying is generally, and I mean, it depends on your clientele too, right? A lot of, you know, younger clients have very thick, very long natural eyelashes. As we get older, you know, our eyelashes aren't as long and as thick, and, you know, and all hormones and everything comes into play there, right? But the thing is it depends on your clientele. So for me, you know, I would say, you know, I have a clientele who's mature, right? And for them, generally, I'm using anywhere from 7 to maybe 10 or 11 at the longest. Even my younger clients who do have, you know, I have one girl, she probably easily has 15 or 16 millimeter long natural lashes. For her, the longest length I still use is the 12.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like with the Russians, it's from to perfection. So a lot of lash artists, they up perfection, and that's why they call Russian volume, because it's like literally creating perfect set. I want to say biggest, like I think like biggest myth or misconception here is like the longer you apply it, the more fuller they're gonna look. It's actually opposite. The shorter and the more of a narrow fan you will apply, the more it's going to look like eyeliner effect, and it's create a density around the eye. So that doesn't always mean that you have to apply 14 15 millimeters to create the drama on lashes. You can just use 7 to 8 D fans. I don't usually use more than this. My work, it's always 6 7 8, depends on where I place it, because sometimes it's a gap, so I have to use bigger fans to cover this gap in the lash line. But that's it. It's like, you know, it's just that big. It's 30% of the 30 to 40 angle, you know, of my fan. They very symmetrical, and that's what creates the density. My lash sets right now are not longer than 11 millimeters on top layer as a longer lens. So my bottom layer will be to 12 still, but it's not even for every single client. Unless my clients have 14 millimeters lashes, which is I did have before, you know, but for her we use 2D. Because I know if I use 6D on her, that will be like a crazy drama. And what usually happening with the longer lens, and if you don't know it, we do creating right now like an online mapping webinar, but the thing is, what's happening with any longer lens, it's waving the lashes. If you use a long lens plus heavy fans, it's waving the lashes. What's happening with the eyes, I notice this a lot in Scottsdale, for example. It's literally creating this. It's closing people's eyes instead of opening, and we all love open eyes. That's the reason why we want to have lashes. Like, I want to show my green eyes to the world. I don't want to create a shadow underneath. When the light hit, when the 12 o'clock hit my eyelashes, if they too long, it's create complete shadow. It's creating this shield. And if you use a longer lens on 14 15 millimeters in here, it's also create the sadness. That's just gonna happen. You're gonna create a sad eyes with the like smaller looking eyes to people using a longer and heavier lens. This is just physics. That's nothing what we can do. Even if you use the D curl to open it, it's still gonna do that.
Absolutely.
So you want to create the density and drama, use use bigger fans but shorter. That was gonna give them the drama.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the questions, because we kind of have to wrap it up. Right? What else do we have? Classic activity. Oh, we're so happy you jumped into this live too. No, I'm not a self-taught. I have learned from trainers. For the 8 years, every single year, I took 1 or 2 training per year to become a master. I'm not saying a master, as Monica says, because
no, call yourself that if you want.
I'm not calling myself. No, no. I'm like, you know, I didn't even heard that before. I'm so Russian. Not always know what's going on, you know. But I'm just saying, like, I don't believe in self-taught education. For many reasons, because it's so many particular things, like about the glue. If you're not taking a good training, a trainer who actually know it, then you're gonna have a trouble with the retention. Then you're gonna have trouble with this. Then you know, like, I mean, YouTube will not always tell you all tips and tricks. I took my fourth training 4 years after, and only then I learned that I hold my hands not correctly. I was waving my elbow and kind of like, because it was easier to get into like out third corners on that side, and then I'm doubting and then putting my, you know, weight, like it was just there because nobody ever taught me. But when I started my lash career, also wasn't a lot of lash artists who was training, you know. Now it's like so much easier, but it's like I have to retrain myself for 6 months to pivot my tweezers to get into inner corners and outer corners, instead pivot my wrist, which can cause you in the longer run freaking carpal tunnel, and it's painful, and then you can't take clients and you kind of lost your income. So all of these little things, it's so important. So I do believe in the correct education.
So another thing is too, is I have 3 certificates. That's it.
I mean, it's enough. I'm not saying like, you know.
Exactly. The thing is like, it doesn't matter if you have 3 certificates or 20 certificates. It's the amount of work that you're willing to put in. So just because you have 20 certificates doesn't mean that, you know, you've taken what you've learned in that class and you've applied it to your lash sets. So it's not that, you know, people have to go out and, I mean, if you don't have the money to take 20 lash classes, you don't take 20 lash classes, but you have to be willing to work hard. And I think the biggest thing is too, is, you know, like I said, I have 3 certificates, but for me, what I do is I follow other lash artists that I look up to, that I love their work. Or, I mean, everybody gives away information now and shares their tips and, you know, does things like this where, you know, you've learned lots of information where you maybe you missed that in a training. So there's so much information out there that we can learn on our own, but when it comes to like, you know, the fundamentals, the basics, take a lash class. Everything else, you know, we can pick up tips and tricks along the way from other lash artists.
I will say you need at least 3. I'm going to explain why.
Yes,
I took more because I always wanted to grow. You know, sometimes you can pick up some of the techniques on the webinars, you know, but why you need 3? First, it's your classic education, or is your basic and fundamental.
Yes.
Then the second one, if you took a right training and they give you this information, so don't go into like really cheap trainings, because that's the reason why. I took my first training very cheap. I get to not know any mapping, I get to know nothing, and then I just end up doing the clients the way they taught me, you know. So don't do the same mistake because you end up paying more. But after the first classic education, you remember nothing until you start working.
True.
When you work for 6 months, you start to have questions, which is you don't remember from trainings. It's just information, because it's so much information. It's just going outside. It's just kind of like disappearing. You know, as soon as you walk out from the training, you have everything. It's like on the piece of paper, you write everything up, but you never, like, you lashed, but only one person. So you didn't start to experience any problems with the retention, with the itchiness, this, and this, you know. So that's why you need to take a second training. It shouldn't be a classic. It can be a volume, you know. So you kind of like now layering all of this information on top of what you already experienced, and it starts to make sense.
Yeah.
And then the third one is just like after you already lash with the volume, sometimes we pick up a bad habits. So your third one is going to be like, stop having the bad habits and actually be a master. Like, start to be a better lash artist.
Absolutely. I agree.
And then,
and I would have more too. I just live in the middle of nowhere in Canada, and it takes us forever to get anywhere. So all of these classes that I think, oh, I'd love to take that, are so far away. And
so like, yeah, I want to answer to like some of the questions, and I think we have to wrap it up. It's been, that's so weird. Usually Instagram, remember, it only was 1 hour. Now it's like allowed to go more. That's a second life, I guess. Oh, I know. So do you usually suggest to shake the glue or use a mixer or shaker before you apply the glue? Does it make any difference? It make a difference if you shake the glue. You have to shake the glue well, because ingredients in the glue get separated. So if you don't shake the glue, it's just like you don't use the proper glue.
And I think she had asked too if we use a mixer. I do use a mixer. But I've had my mixer only maybe for like 2 years. It was something that I was like, okay, I'm ready to invest in this, because they are, they're quite pricey if you get, the vortex.
The one with the vortex.
The science. Yeah. Basically, essentially it's a science lab shaker, right? So, they're pricey, but honestly, for me, it was worth it. I would buy one all over again. It just takes away, I guess, you having to shake for that 2 minutes or whatever. I just quickly throw it on there, and every time I refresh my dot, I throw it on there again, just give it a quick little shake. So it's worth it if you're, if you have a
absolutely needed. Like you need to, like with the mixer or with the hands, wherever you choose to mix it, it's just so much easier. Definitely, you still need to mix it, as I mentioned, because of the ingredients are not all together. They kind
right. So they separate. If you looked at it sort of like let's say a salad dressing, you see those layers, right?
Yeah.
So every time, when you have a salad dressing, you shake your salad dressing and it mixes up all the ingredients. The same thing with the glue. You shake it, mix all the ingredients.
Some of the molecules are lighter. Some of the molecules are like it's heavier. So the heavier molecules will go on the bottom. The lighter molecules will be on the top. After 1 year of lashing, I start to experience allergy type symptoms from the fume from the glue. I start to sneeze, getting a runny nose itself. Just wondering if this is a common thing. I don't think it's a common thing, but it is happening. It's like a lash client can have allergic reaction build up from, some of the time, like, in a period of the lashing. Some people still never experience allergic reaction, even they have lashes done for 10 years. Can happen with the absolutely everyone in the industry, any trainer, anyone. I don't know if you knew this. She's a Russian trainer, very well known. Like she's vis-a-vis. So she started to experience a very tremendous allergic reaction when her whole arms become like a red and then dots. And she's a lash trainer who's like top lash trainer, traveling around the world with her master classes. So it's a common thing, like, and she's a chemistry too, so she knows chemistry. She always talk about the glue, and her like webinar is amazing. But the thing is, you can't, like, regular mask will not protect you. That's nothing what they're doing, especially if you're allergic, to the fume, to the blue ingredients. You have to really wear that's really protecting big, huge mask, like kind of even more than constructions, to be able to protect yourself. But the thing is, our pores are still breathing too. So, like if you experience like a reaction like she experienced, she went to detox, like a heavy detox, when they do like the, what's it called? The, like with you have to go to the doctor and they do like the whole blood cleansing, whatever it is. So it helped her. I will not say like I know exactly the answer to that, but your body build up that sunacrylate or whatever it's allergic to from the glue, from the fume. So if you experience that, it's just only can get worse.
So, but here's the thing too. So I noticed that, and I wear a mask. I don't wear the one with the big, cartridges on it, but I do wear the one with the charcoal filter in it. And that I've noticed does make a difference for me. If I don't wear that mask, I definitely get the runny nose, and I get kind of like almost stuffed up. So I can tell the difference if I'm not wearing that. So even for me, the difference in wearing that mask with that charcoal filter makes a huge difference for me.
I mean, if it's it all depends on the symptoms. It all depends on how bad it is. As I mentioned,
sensitivity, right? For them, it could be a sensitivity. For that trainer,
it was a severe allergy.
Reaction.
As like the same, some clients can get a little sensitive to the glue, and then the next 2 days it's going away. It's not like allergy, but they still like itchy, a little bit red, a little bit, and the next 2 days it's going away as soon as sunacrylate, the fumes are not there, and then it's just just going away. So they still kind of can have lashes, and some clients get just like really crazy allergy where they cannot have any lashes, and they come back in the year and that's still the same reaction. So they didn't clean from it, you know, like it's still there. I have clients who come back from me in a year, let's try it out, maybe it's work, you know, we did the patch test, which is now I know it's not working because it's not enough of fume built up to be able to really show you if the client allergic, because we applied 10 lashes of her, she was totally fine because it was not enough of amount of sun acrylate. And then, you know, when we did the full set, she was still allergic. So it's very varied of the what you experience. We have another question. So my amount of glue, I do use less glue when my fans close, but I cannot use any less of the, so they won't stay. I'm under 20 humidity. I have a humidifier, doesn't help. What should I do? So where you should humidifier standing? Does it standing right on sometimes I find out, I don't know, for me, like when it's like right on the client, it make it only worse, because then it's a shocking caramelization, like, you know, the while I'm lashing, the glue dry out right away. So I'm sometimes putting it a little bit far away from me, so it's kind of like circulate into the you know, in my room. I don't know if it makes sense.
I think the thing is too, is you have to, if your humidity is that low, potentially it's your space. Like if you have a space that has a south facing window and that sun is beating into your room all day long, the heat in your room is going up exponentially. And so then what happens is heat is obviously going to take that moisture away as well. So I don't know if potentially you need to change your room, because you're just not, like, you could have 5 humidifiers going and you're still not getting enough moisture, or you use a blackout curtain, but something to take maybe the heat down.
Heat down. And also I would like, in that case, you should use a little bit of the help, like a debonder, you know, like we're gonna speed up the glue, because if the glue working too slow, and that can cause it, you know, so you still use the same amount of glue you need to lashes to stay, but using debonder to speed up your glue, because in 20 it's not enough. And does it actually increase? Do you have that thing with measuring the humidity? So when you have a humidity, does it actually increasing in your room?
That's true. If you don't have one of these, get one of these. This is going to make your life so easy, and you can buy them at Walmart for like $5. They're super cheap, Amazon, wherever you want to get them. But this is going to make your life so much easier. If you don't have one, definitely invest in one. This is a must, I think.
Does using shorter lens on top or bottom layer better for texture? No. If you're using shorter lens on top and bottom layer, it's longer. It's not texture. It's perfect line.
Yep.
So when the clients open the eyes, it's a shorter in the bottom, to longer on top. When they open the apps, they meet in the same point. What's the best way to test what glue speed you need? I think that's my problem, is not knowing the speed I need. If you count to 2 and it's still not there, so something happening, you know. You need to check what's going on, as we mentioned, your temperature and humidity. If that's perfect and it doesn't, like, you know, stay, you may pick up a little bit more of a glue than you needed.
Or your lashes are popping off.
If the lashes are popping off, then you wasn't using enough of a glue, or you wasn't fast enough.
Exactly. You weren't using enough, or that glue was too fast for how fast you're working. So if you brush through the lashes and you have all these fans that are flicking off, it's potentially because you didn't use enough adhesive, or because your adhesive is too quick drying for how fast you're working.
Yeah, people say 3 certificate, but it doesn't really matter. I would say it is matter if you take in the right amount, like if you take in the right trainers. You know, I will not say one of my certificates and how many I have, it doesn't matter, because with each single trainer, I pick up a one, because I took like a good trainer's advice, what changed my lash life. And if that's all money was worth for me, even for one. Like I pick up a nice lash map, what I never knew. I pick up the hand position, what nobody told me before, you know. I pick up how to isolate my inner corners, what nobody told me before. I pick it up how to work with, like, when I have to step from one size to another size by working with 3 layers, how to do that to create a seamless transition. So I will never say some of my certificates wasn't matter for me. I grew for every single one, even like marketing sometimes, because people sometimes covered marketing in the lash world, for example, and that was worse for me. You know what I mean? Yes, a lot of information that's the same, but it was still like, if I was looking to this because I knew I want to take something out of this expert.
Yes.
Not like they're gonna tell me something different about like a mapping or this, but I knew if they doing it better than I do it, I want to know why.
You want to know
how they do it. So I only go to somebody. It's not about the name. I'm go to somebody who I love the work what they're doing. I love what they're doing in the industry. I want to learn from them. I want to be like them, not like them, but I want to be better for myself so I can grow my business. I can make more money. Every time when I took a new trainer, I skyrocket my prices because I'm like, I'm more experienced now. A lot of lash artists in my area don't know how to do it, so I can charge what I want. I have balls for it.
3 great trainers. So I have always lucked out, had really great training, but it's like you said, these are people that I looked at and I love their work, and I was going to them. I was getting trained by them.
Okay. I think we kind of like one last question and we wrap it up. It is a myth or true lash extension can shed during certain season change? We actually just have a Clubhouse yesterday. If you're not still on Clubhouse, I highly recommend it. You can DM me or I don't know, Monica, do you on Clubhouse? Not yet?
You know what? I actually just got on Clubhouse, so I totally missed it. So that, yeah, I missed it. But I just got on Clubhouse. I don't even really know how it works.
It's going to be big, so highly recommend. If you don't have an invitation, but you have an iPhone, fully invitation, Monica still have some invitation. You know, every single person who's in Clubhouse can invite 3 people. So, you know, use it. So what we was talking yesterday and was trying to just kind of put it into like boxes so people understand. This is not such a thing as seasonal. Like, you know, shed, if we want to say like, oh, all the time, everyone will shed around September as a seasonal shed. The reason for that, because every single person can be allergic to one or the other thing in the air during the seasons. So they can be allergic throughout the winter time, or they can be allergic throughout the springtime when everything blooming, or they can be allergic in September. So it kind of based on your area, but it's not 100%. It's not every single client will experience this shed. It's usually the clients who have allergies, hormonal changes. We have somebody speaking yesterday about where they are, the altitude is so high, so during the winter time they lacking some hormones, which is caused a seasonal shed. You can say seasonal, but it's only winter time when it's like, you know, they lacking these hormones, and more people lacking it, causing lash shed. So I will say it's seasonal, but it's really varying state by state where you are, what's your climate, your clientele. In we didn't like, I didn't notice that in my personal opinion, but I know like my like somebody who we like, you know, we talked yesterday, she's in Florida, and it's like during some particular time of the year, her client who allergic to something, you know, experience crazy shed and falling of lashes and literally having the gaps, and it's only in this year. It's only in this time of the year, but also like we want to say it's just a particular amount of clients. It's not like 100% of them will do that. I don't know if you want to.
So I think we did answer everyone's questions. If we didn't get to your questions, you're always welcome to send me a DM. I don't know if Anna's open up to a DM, but maybe. Of
course.
So yeah, if you answered a question and we didn't get to it, sorry, send us a DM. We'll try to answer it for you.
Yes, and Monica, please save the live so I can also repost it. Thank you, everyone. It was a lot of questions, so thank you, Monica, for hosting me.
Yes, thank you. Thanks to everybody. I'll save it.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.